Live from Montreal, it's Tim Horaney getting ready. We're so excited, man. Montreal Grand Prix, Canadian Grand Prix. Life is good. And we've got, obviously, schedule changes to talk about. But first, I think, Tim, we start with the only Canadian in the field, and he is racing, Lance Stroll. So what's the story there? We know he was having some real wrist problems the last time we went racing, and then now he says he's feeling good.
Yeah, I guess if we backtrack this, Adam, to the Spanish Grand Prix when Lance was withdrawn from the race and what the team stated as issues with his hand and wrist, and him having to go and see the original doctor who had worked on his hand and wrist and ankles and his big toe back in 2023 when he fractured all of that in a cycling accident. Going back and seeing the same specialist, was told it was a minor procedure. He did a test with a 2023 Aston Martin car earlier this week. Now that is taking up one of their TPC programs, Adam. So the testing of previous car, which teams only get like an allotted amount. They don't get a lot of those. So they used one up there, and it sounds as though, he probably got close to 1,000 kilometers maybe of driving, and usually that's what they do in those TPC programs. So
yeah,
just to make sure that he could probably handle everything and the fitness was there, and so it sounded like he is good to go. He will race this weekend. I don't know this for sure, but I would imagine that he's probably still going to be suffering from, some pain in certain areas. But that is something that athletes do deal with, right? I mean,
yeah.
In every sport, Adam, like hockey, like everybody has nicks and injuries and bruises and bumps. Same with racing drivers. They deal with the same issues too. Like they deal with injuries that linger and stay with them throughout a season, and they have to manage them essentially because they never truly go away until the off season. And so picking up an injury during a season, it's hard to get rid of it. And so I think for Lance, it'll be interesting to see, how quickly he kind of really fully recovers from all this. We'll learn more when we talk to him on Thursday. Media days. We're taping this on Wednesday night. But at this moment, that's pretty much everything that I know up to this point. He worked really hard to try and get back for this race. I think, Adam, we've talked about this before in the past, and we talked about it a few weeks ago where there was some talk that, maybe he just gave up and quit and left the track and didn't want to drive and all this kind of stuff. And, you and I basically just said, like, look, he doesn't have to be a Formula One driver. Like he really doesn't. Like, and the amount of work that goes into being an F1 driver and traveling to 24 races all around the globe. You have to really, really, really want it to, push through everything, keep the training high, keep the fitness high, and try your best to stay as healthy as you can throughout a season.
Right. It's a bummer that accident, because this all dates back to the biking accident from 2 years ago, right before the season. It's a bummer that's still bugging him. But wrists and toes and like anything in your hands, anything in your feet can be a pain in the ass for a long time. There's a lot of ligaments. There's a lot of small bones. We see that in other sports. Football, you see it all the time. Hockey, you see it all the time. Basketball, you see it all the time. It's these they're all this works together. I'm squeezing my hand in front of the camera right now for people who can't see. That works together so well, but when one piece is off, then the whole thing's off. And especially when you're under several G-forces and, it's hard cornering and this and that, it's getting thrown around. Tim, do you get the sense from his team, the Aston Martin group and, the Lance Stroll group, that they might be in line for some points this weekend? Are they feeling optimistic that they might be able to get something done in front of Canadian fans?
Yeah, and I think that could be, Adam, one of the reasons why he and his team really worked hard to fast track him to try to get him to, he's not 100%, I'm sure.
Yep. Nope.
I'm pretty sure he's probably not. I'm just taking a guess on that one.
Yeah.
But they worked hard to try and at least get him to be able to, get back in the car and do his best. And you know what, Adam, I think this could be a track where this car goes well. I have a feeling this car is going to suit this track. It is something we did talk about a few races ago, especially when they were in Imola, and they introduced the new floor to the Aston Martin, and you and I even said, like, hey, look, I think this car is going to be good when it comes to Canada, and I have a feeling it is. We just have to wait and see how things play out throughout the weekend. For Lance, qualifying is going to be important for him. Like I think he's going to really have to. He's really going to have to stitch some good laps together in qualifying, because I think it's going to be really, really tight to get into Q3, Adam.
It looks like it's going to be a warm weekend in Montreal. I think, Tim, the interesting thing is next year it might not be, and in fact, it probably won't be. Mm-hmm. The Montreal Grand Prix has been moved back to May. Usually it's on Father's Day, and you did a whole feature on that on TSN this week, which I saw and loved, by the way. The features have been spectacular.
Thanks, buddy.
Just throwing that out there. I just want to say great job on SportsCenter. But I do want to, Tim, them moving this creates a couple issues. Now, in the past, for people that don't know, some people call it Monocolapolis or whatever they want to call it. So the Indianapolis 500 happens the same day as the Monaco Grand Prix. And now the Canadian Grand Prix, which is in the same hemisphere as the Indianapolis 500, going to be the same day. And the hope is, I think Will Buxton was tweeting about it today too, and he's obviously with IndyCar now. But Stefano Domenicali, and I forget the name of the guy that runs the IndyCar circuit. Maybe they can sit down and stagger the start times. This seems like a bad idea, not just for F1, but for IndyCar, and just in terms of its timing, right? In terms of the fact they are going to have races that overlap, but it's the Indianapolis 500. And it was Monaco. Monaco's a can't miss. Indianapolis 500's a can't miss. Different hemispheres, no big deal. The Canadian track is one of the best on the F1 calendar, but it's difficult for race fans who get 4 North American races, Vegas, Austin, Miami, and Montreal, to choose either which one to go to or which one to watch. I feel like they're going to be cannibalizing their own audience here. Have you got a sense from the FIA at all about how this might work out? Is F1 just trying to be the big dog here and go, well, we don't care, we're Formula One and you're IndyCar and we're going to dominate you in your own area? Or is this, how do you view this, Tim?
It's going to be tough. There's no sugarcoating it, Adam. I think when we, take a look at this schedule, timing is going to be paramount. It's going to be crucial because you cannot overlap these races.
No, you can't.
It's different when it was Monaco, because that's a race that starts at 9 a.m. Like that was sort of your perfect, as a racing fan, that's sort of your perfect day. You have
the best
Monaco Grand Prix at 9 a.m. You got the Indy 500 starts at 12:45, and then you had the Coke 600 that is later in the evening at 6 p.m. or 6:30 p.m., whatever the start time is for that. And that as a racing fan, when you're a fan of all 3 disciplines, is fantastic. You're literally glued to your couch all day. I mean, your partner, wife, or girlfriend, whatever, may not be too happy about it, but you're locked in. And I think when we take a look at how this has been shaken up for next year, there has to be a serious conversation that needs to be had about staggering the time of the race, because you can't really move the Indy 500 time. Like you just can't. Like the start time of that.
Can you move the Montreal time?
That's so. What I'm thinking is there has to be a conversation where the Canadian Grand Prix time gets moved later. So this weekend, I believe it's 2 p.m. Eastern Standard start time. Mm-hmm. I think for next year, you have to move that to at least 3:30 p.m. But then if you get a race that goes late, red flags, it drags on.
Well, and the
it's starting to get dark.
May in Canada, not only does it get dark,
Cold.
Tim, but it can be cold.
Yeah,
really
we're
cold.
an Arctic nation, right? Like when, here in Montreal, the weather's been great. There has been second week in June's where I've been here, and I was questioning whether or not it was good as snow at some points. Like,
of course,
I remember doing a sit-down interview 1-to-1 around this time back in 2015 with Lewis Hamilton, and Lewis had his winter jacket on, and I was freezing cold. I just had a sweater on, and I thought it was going to snow. And so I can only imagine what it might be like here towards the end of May. Now, I'm not saying that, Canada, Quebec, Montreal is always cold or snow and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the weather could be absolutely gorgeous. Like we just don't know. That's the thing. And for the start time, Adam, I think you want all the eyeballs on your sport. Mm-hmm. I don't think you want to just start competing with each other. I mean, if you take a look at the numbers for the Indy 500 from this past, Adam, over 7 million people tuned in to watch that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like that you want, like those people were watching the F1 race as well.
Yes, of course.
Like in Monaco.
We're open wheel race fans.
So this is definitely going to have to be a conversation. I haven't had a chance to speak with anyone at F1 about it yet. I will throughout the week to try and find out more and what they're thinking and what they may do moving forward. So that's as far as I can go with it at this point, because I just haven't learned anything else yet.
Okay, so we'll kind of update maybe after the weekend's over. Yeah. We'll find out more. Now, one of the things last year, Tim, that has made the news again in Quebec and a little bit within the F1 community is the fact that last year's organization was not up to par, and in fact, a lot of people called it a disaster. And that's on Tourism Quebec and the head of the tourism board for Quebec, which is an elected official, and she has come out and said, that was embarrassing. We want this year to be a lot different. Have you seen anything? And I know it's early, right? Like I know that you just kind of got there. Bit of an unfair question. Have you seen any changes, improvements, whatever? I have heard that the floating bridge that used to bring the drivers in is no longer there.
Gone.
So I don't know if that probably wasn't a part of the disorganization issue. No. What changes have you seen, if any?
I've seen a lot. The organizers. So Adam and I are taping this on Wednesday night, and I've been at the track all day. We got to the track at like 9 a.m. and I just got back, and it's like 8. Yeah, we started recording at 8:30 p.m. So it's been a long day, but I got to tell you, they've done a lot of work there. There's a lot of work that's been done at the track. The organizers put in a load of effort, finances as well, by the looks of it, to make it just looks big. Like you go into the paddock, and the new hospitality units that they have there are monstrous. They are massive. They're 2 stories. Mm-hmm. I don't even know what the square footage of it is. They're absolutely huge. They're the size of a house. Like they're probably bigger than most houses. They're huge. And I think the teams are really going to appreciate that. And I think the drivers are as well, because of where they're coming from here in Montreal. What they used to have were way smaller, single floor. And the thing is that this just shows you how much the sport has grown when more VIPs are coming, right? And want to be a part of the event, want to be a part of the race. And so you need to have these bigger facilities. And so they've gone out, they've restructured everything. They've built these huge hospitality units. They've built more hospitality units that are absolutely massive, that are
so they're double floor now, right?
Yeah, exactly. But there's those in the paddock, and then there are other hospitality suites that are across the track and across from turn 1, closer to the garages. And they're huge, man. Like they are huge. There's a grandstand on the start-finish line right beside this grandstand. there's this huge new hospitality building that they've built, and it's just absolutely outrageously big. It looks fantastic. Parking is going to be different as well. We are used to parking up on top of this hill on the rowing basin for media and teams, and you either walk the 2 kilometers to the paddock to get in, or you cross that floating bridge. Floating bridge is gone. You can't park along the waterway anymore, and they've actually created parking right behind some of the grandstands that lead you directly into the paddock. So I think for the teams, it's going to be a lot easier for them to get in and get out, and to get in and get out of the track facilities, because it looks like they're opening up another one of the bridges that goes off the island. It's a one-way bridge by the looks of it, and I think it has different times of going back and forth. People can go back and forth to get out that work for Formula One or the teams or the media. So they've really restructured a lot, man. They've definitely invested heavily into this year's Grand Prix. So far, it really does look like fantastic. I'll let you know what it's like for people on the ground in the paddock, what they think of it, how easy it is for them to maneuver around. I'd love to get the
feedback. I want to know what they think.
Definitely will update that. As for like fan experience and stuff like that, what the organizers have done to try and get fans updated on where they can go, a digital map, how they can get there, your location of where you are and where you need to be, different exits, washrooms, food, merchandise if you want it, food trucks, which they've also brought in. They've created an app for the Canadian Grand Prix.
Yes,
and this is new. I don't know if they're experimenting with it just for this Grand Prix, or if other Grand Prix have it. I've never seen another Grand Prix do that. It's a specific app that is tailored to the island itself, and that allows fans to navigate around. So if fans are listening or watching this and you're going to the Canadian Grand Prix, you can download it. It's CGP. That's the name of the app. It's a black and white sort of app in the App Store. And so, yeah, it looks like it's going to be pretty handy to help fans sort of navigate their way around. It looks like the weather's going to hold up for us too, which is also great. It can be really difficult here when it does rain. I mean, like any track, Adam, that is from like road course track that is out like Austria, Spa, like when it rains, it's going to get muddy. Like it's the way it is. Imola, the Italian Grand Prix, any of these ones, right, that aren't like a street circuit, you're going to have to be prepared for that. But here it looks like we're going to get some good weather as well. So yeah, I'll update everyone a little bit more on how things went. It is a big year for the Canadian Grand Prix for sure.
Yes, it is.
But you know what? First impressions, it looks fabulous. It really does look like they put in a ton of work here. They really did put in a lot of work, Adam. Like I'm shocked to see it. When I showed up, I was like, oh wow, this is going to be a lot different in a good way. It's
great. You know what? It was a track that was in need of some hospitality updates anyway, right? Like it is an old school track in a lot of ways, and that's what is so charming about it. But at a certain point, the world keeps spinning, and you need to modernize. And I think that that is encouraging to hear, Tim.
Yeah, it's funny, Adam. Like when you see the Las Vegas Grand Prix, and you take a look at what F1 did with that event and what a spectacle they turned it into, and just how incredible a job that F1 did putting that event on. Thinking about, wow, you're shutting down the Las Vegas Strip. Yep. And then when and then all the entertainment, everything that goes, all the hospitality, all the catering that goes into it, all of the other outside entertainment that is scattered around the track. I mean, they took everything to such a high level. There's not a lot of races that can reach reach that peak. Like that is sort of the bar now, in my opinion, when I take a look at all of the Grand Prix, not just Canadian Grand Prix, like all of them. It is such a huge bar, man, like huge. And I think for F1, it comes down to just trying to push some Grand Prix to just try and get close to it. I mean, it's not going to be easy for every Grand Prix to sort of reach that, but they've set the bar so high, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, because I think we always need to keep pushing on things. That, yeah, when you look at other race tracks, race venues, you have to take a look at, okay, what else do they need to do to get themselves up to there? And for the Canadian Grand Prix and the organizers, I mean, they dumped a ton of money into this by the looks of it, and they've really taken this thing to another level because it looks like a massive event. It's always looked like a massive event, but Adam, it just looks like it's taken another step. Like it's taken a big step. That's what it looks like.
And that's amazing. And we need it to be a world-class event because it is. And the world does truly come to Montreal. Montreal's ready for it. Montreal's a world-class city. I love Montreal. Yeah. And it really comes alive during F1. Now, time for us to take a look at the Formula One track itself, including the Wall of Champions. And Tim and I kind of do a little drive-through, so check it out.
F1 25. It's our first week with the new game, and it's Tim's first time on the new game, and Adam, it's different, eh?
No, Adam, you said first week with it.
First race week.
Hold on a second. We've had it for like 20 minutes, Jesse?
Yeah,
20 minutes. Nice enough of Jesse to download all this for us and get it ready, but
it's different for you, huh? You had to make some changes.
Did have to make some changes.
So
big time changes.
Look out for our review of the game and actually driving in it coming out here very, very soon. But in the meantime, let's do our track run through. We're at the Circuit de Villeneuve, or Circuit de Villeneuve. Not even de. There's no de in there. It's just Circuit de Villeneuve. And you know, one of the I think, for my money, the greatest Canadian driver ever. I know Jacques won a championship. I know Lance has been in the longest, but Gilles should have won, and obviously he tragically passed before he could. But we're racing in Ferrari, I would say, Tim, not just because Lewis Hamilton's struggling and Charles Leclerc is not, but also because Gilles Villeneuve was a Ferrari driver.
100%. Ferrari has a huge fan base here in Canada, and then obviously the legacy of the team itself within Canada is huge. So why not be Ferrari, right?
Now, I want to show you, right ahead is where I sat in 2016 when Lewis Hamilton lapped the field. You got an invalidated lap time first.
We just started.
First corner. All right. Well, I was there, and I remember I think Marussia was racing in that race. Marussia. And who was the Airbnb? They only had Airbnb sponsors. Maybe it was Force India. I'm not even sure.
Oh my God.
I can't even remember who was at the back end of that race, but it was such a spread out field. Lewis and Nico, like they were so much better than everybody else.
What year was that?
Ross, I think it was 16. Yeah. Or was it Valtteri?
I was going to say like
it was like Lewis and then everybody else.
I was going to say like any year, like 2014, 15, 16. I mean, that was all Mercedes, right? And they were lapping everybody.
Yes. Yeah, I remember Lewis won by like a minute and a half. It was nuts. It was crazy.
Probably lapped up to like third place or something.
Absolutely. It was awesome.
Because I think 2014 was a good one because Daniel Ricciardo won that one.
And that was his first win?
That was his first win, yeah.
And this is also the track Lewis Hamilton got his first win at.
That's right, 2008.
Yeah. And Tim, you've raced this track before as you are right now, not just on a simulator, but in a real car.
Real life, yeah. Real life.
I know this is an awkward time to ask you right going through this corner where you got your lap time invalidated last time.
Super awkward.
But what's the track like in person?
It actually, you know what? This game does a pretty darn good job of simulating it, I would say. I mean, it's tricky when it's wet, no question. I think like a lot of the things that people may not experience with this track is some of the undulation changes. Like it's not a lot, but like sometimes
for those of us who are not sophisticated, what's undulation?
Well, so like sometimes there's little dips in the road and things of that nature that kind of throw you out, and you kind of got to hit things a certain way and get through these chicanes because they're super fast. But a lot of the drivers who I've spoken to, they love this track, right? It's one of their favorites. It's right up there. And I think a big part of that's because the racing's good, right? Like you can have really good wheel-to-wheel racing at this track.
Right. And this weekend actually looks like Potential rain on Saturday about midday during qualifying, but 27, 25, and 25 degrees. So good, hot Montreal weather, and most of the time sunshine. So we will get like a really great racing set of conditions, which I think is great.
I think so. I'm hoping that, every year since, I want to say 2022, it's been rainy. Like we've had rain.
Wasn't there like hail? Like
there was hail.
Too early.
We got stuck in like a hurricane warning one year. I was in the Ferrari hospitality tents in the paddock, and I was chatting with some of Leclerc's people, and all of a sudden, all of our phones go off, and they're from Europe, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if they get the emergency alert notifications that we get here in Ontario, but in Canada, and our phones started going off. Those loud like emergency warnings.
Just because the rain was so bad.
It was like like hurricane alert, and we're all just like, huh? Everybody's like, what is this? And they're all looking at me, and I'm like, I'm like, take shelter. And,
be here where you are.
And so now, like with some of Leclerc's people, the running joke is if I show up, there's bad weather.
Right.
So that's the running joke.
Okay, I like that. Well, I gotta say, this is one of the tracks I think where you get some of the best visuals of the cars. If you look at where the grandstands are, this is what I love so much about this track, is it's hard to find a bad view if you're in a grandstand.
Yeah.
And obviously being around corner one, where I was, it's the best place to be on any track is corner one.
Yeah.
But you look at the way that they've kind of built it, and it's on an island in Montreal. Besides the fact that it's a gigantic pain in the ass to get to, no disrespect to the Montreal metro system, but it's tens of thousands of people trying to cram onto a few street or subway cars in a very short amount of time. It's difficult not to love basically any aspect of like watching this track, which it's the only one I could speak to other than like Watkins Glen, which is not an F1 track. And I'll tell you, it's a 70-lap race, 4.36 kilometer circuit, 14 corners, 2 DRS zones. And obviously those DRS zones are going away next year with the push to pass button, which I'm very much looking forward to because you can just use it whenever. Are there going to be limitations, by the way, on the push to pass, or are you going to be able to use it at any time?
That's a great question. I haven't even seen the full regs on what everything looks like yet, but I mean, hey, I would say like whatever your car has, whatever juice is in the battery, use it all whenever you need to. That's what I say.
So this track was built on, it's interesting that the island is called Ile Notre Dame, and it was built ahead of the Expo 67 World's Fair. So the reason that we have a racetrack in Canada that supports Formula One is because of Expo 67, which was the 100-year anniversary of the country, for those who don't know. While the Turn 10 hairpin is where you're most likely to see the best passing opportunities, the track's most famous feature is the Wall of Champions. The outside barrier on Turn 14 had earned its name after Damon Hill, Jacques Villeneuve, and Michael Schumacher all crashed out there during the 1999 Canadian Grand Prix. And Tim, what is it about the Wall of Champions that makes... I mean, you don't see so many crashes there now, but it is a tricky part of the track.
Verstappen nailed it last year in qualifying, if I remember. He didn't destroy the car, but he did touch it. And there have been crashes there. I mean, Kevin Magnussen's had a massive crash there a few years ago.
When he crashed, though, he didn't crash small.
No, he crashed big.
He crashed with a vengeance.
Yeah, very big.
Yeah.
I think, like, Adam, one of the big things with the Wall of Champions as we're kind of coming up to is the braking of it, because it can
show
be
people
like,
where it is if they don't already.
Probably back there somewhere.
Yeah. we'll point it out next
time.
But
the thing is trying to get enough speed through the corner to not tattoo the wall, but to get close to it, right? And you're literally driving the car straight at a concrete barrier.
One thing that I noticed, and Tim does a lot of work for TSN as well. And I watched your TSN report this morning on SportsCenter.
Oh, which one?
And it was the one where Lance and Oscar and Esteban Ocon are talking about what it's like to race here.
Yeah.
And it's actually one of the more animated interviews I've ever seen Lance do, because he's a very low-key guy. But he said some interesting things about sort of the twist of this track and carrying speed through the corners. Can you sort of elaborate on that? What are drivers looking to do this weekend in order to push the limit?
Should we go There were some people who commented on one of our videos. They're asking for like more description,
Okay.
so I can definitely do that.
Yeah, give it to us.
Okay, let's start with. I'm gonna have to slow down for some of the lap as well, but we'll start with obviously the Wall of Champions, which we're coming up to. It's a big commitment area when it comes to the brakes, and you kind of want to brake just after this bridge, but you want to brake in a way where you're braking straight, but as you're bleeding off the brake, you're getting a bit of rotation in the rear of the car.
Mm-hmm.
And you're sort of rotating the car so you're almost on this type of a trajectory.
Got it.
So you're driving the car right towards, Bonjour Quebec,
Yep.
and you have to pick the right point to get back on the throttle, get back on the power. And you have to pick the point of how much you're going to get back on the power because there's so much torque coming through the rear wheels that if you get on it too hard, you're going to spin, you're going to hit the wall. You'll most likely spin and then hit that wall, the outside wall.
Yeah, which we've seen people do.
Yep. And then you got to know when exactly you're committing fully to the power. This is the other part of it is turn 1. So coming up to turn 1, it's interesting because in the game, now that I've had a little more time to kind of play around with it, when I broke down Max and Lewis's Q3 laps from last year to this year, both of them break around the same point. It's in around where this little cutoff is to this road. So they may be using this as a reference marker for when they start their braking.
Right here?
Yeah, and they're initiating it really hard. And then they're kind of bleeding off as they're turning in. They're off the brakes around here, but then they're carrying speed to about mid-corner here, and then they're getting back onto the power and driving the car straight towards this wall. It's not like they're turning the wheel, right? Because the more you turn the steering wheel, the more speed you scrub with the car. Mm-hmm. You kind of want to make sure that you get this wheel kind of straight so you can just floor it and hope that the car kind of grips up, sticks up, and then off you go. For this part of the track, turn 3 and 4, a lot of the guys, what they'll do is they'll brake around this 100-meter board. Mm-hmm. But in real life, this grass isn't here.
Oh.
This is actually like pavement.
Oh.
And so what they do is when they come to this corner, it in real life is really hard to see because it's almost like you're kind of going uphill. I'll see if I can change the... No. Wasn't flash. Damn it. I was going to see if I can change the camera angle, but I can't. Anyways, so as they're coming up here to open up the corner to make it bigger, the entry, what they do is they usually will bring the car over to the left here, and they'll ride the nose along this white line that's here, and there's cement that's here, and you can see how much wider the track starts to become.
Yeah, so it gives you a lot more ability to carry speed through the corner.
Yeah, and it just opens it up so much more because if I go over here,
it tightens up.
It tightens right up.
And
right?
you can't get a good angle coming out of that.
Yeah, so if I'm like here, I'm like here, right? See how much tighter it becomes?
Oh, it's impossible.
And then you're turning the wheel more. And so if I'm having to turn the wheel more, I'm going to be scrubbing speed. The car is going to be all bound up. It's not going to feel good. Probably get a lot of understeer and then snap oversteer. But if I'm out further, this becomes a much wider entry to it. Allows me to turn in a little bit later and then get back on the power like here. And so you're accelerating down this hill. And so it's like I was saying, like when people watch on TV, there's undulation changes, right?
Sure.
Like it goes down, it goes up a little bit. Even though they may be small, it plays a huge factor in trying to like scrape out a proper lap. This turn here in the wet is super sketchy. Like it is
you could hydroplane,
scary.
right? You could just fly.
Right into this wall, no problem, no questions asked. Even in an F1 car, it's like extremely nervy. This section is pretty straightforward. You don't want to take too much of this curb because it lifts the car up so much, and the road is like not, it's not totally flat, right? It's kind of going uphill a little bit. There's almost like a tiny bit of camber to it in a way. So if you take too much of that curb, you tend to get a lot of oversteer coming through here. At this point, you're trying to get back on the power smooth enough that you can't go full throttle, really, right? Like you can't just like hammer the gas coming out of there because you're pointing the car directly at this wall as you're accelerating. And as you're accelerating, you want to short shift, at least in the game you do. You want to short shift to stop the wheels from spinning so you can get a good clean exit, try to get close to the wall type of deal, and like away we go. This next part was interesting because again, like I was looking at Lewis and Max Max kind of breaks. He kind of breaks around here.
Mm-hmm.
Where Lewis, he breaks like here. Like,
Okay.
Very impressive.
Is he going to be able to do that in this year's Ferrari? Like,
he did it in Mercedes last year, so
okay.
he probably can get close to that. But the thing is that when you have to pick and choose where you really want to attack with this corner, because if you brake really late, but you mess up the amount you bleed off the brake pedal, so the amount my foot comes off, you can really upset the balance of the car like really quickly, and it's gone. So you have to be right. You have to be on it. Like these guys are on it. So he bleeding off, he kind of almost chucks the car into here, and then he's like right back on the power. He's like full throttle right out of here, pointed directly at this wall, full throttle, shifting up, banging through the gears, like.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that is I learned a lot from that. That's crazy.
There's a lot of points in the track where you're kind of really having to point the car like directly at a wall, like for here. I mean, we're going to come through, but we're going to accelerate out to like the wall.
Right.
And squeeze the power on and not jam on it, because when you do that, you just spin the rear wheels out so much that, it's impossible to keep the car under control.
Wow. Okay. And the thing is, Tim's learning for the F125, you got to slam the brakes.
Yeah, big time with this game. And we'll talk a bit more in the review about this game, but it's very real in the fact that like you really have to like get on the brakes. Where I was so used to F124 when you and I were playing it, that I was kind of like, wait a second, I'm like, this isn't real how they brake.
So you're really pushing it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. So Circuit Gilles Villeneuve this weekend, nailing the apex. Tim, thanks so much for walking us through the track. It's a fun little track log. Well, we won't know, man.
All right, let's cut out of this.
Okay, so Tim, I guess the question that I have is when we're talking about how the season has gone so far, do you expect another, like if you're McLaren, are you expecting two guys in the top three again? Is that anything less? Is that a disappointment? Who are the main challenges for them this weekend?
I think McLaren's definitely going to be pushed this weekend.
Okay.
If the weather stays the way it is, so it's a little cool. Well, it's a lot cooler here than it was in Spain, what they're coming off of. And it's a lot cooler here than what it was in Miami. I think if it stays in around these temps, I think that's going to help a lot of the other teams. And one of the teams I'm thinking about is Mercedes. I mean, George Russell, this race definitely owes him one. Qualified on pole last year.
Yes.
Safety car kind of did him in as well.
And a good team on cooler tires, right?
Yeah, and the car is great on in cooler conditions, like you said, Adam. And so, if the weather is a little cooler here, I can see a driver like George Russell taking pole position and grabbing race victory here this weekend. Now, it's not going to be easy, obviously. I mean, it never is, because the McLarens are so strong. But I think George believes that this one owes him something.
Yeah,
I get to talk to him. I have a one-on-one with him on Thursday, so I'm looking forward to asking him a little bit about that and some other things as well. But Mercedes, I think, can be strong here. I think Charles Leclerc can be strong here, and I also think Max is going to be strong here. And
what about? Oh, sorry, keep going.
No. I think for Max, that's something we can talk about in a bit. But definitely, I think McLaren is going to have their work cut out for them this weekend, I think.
What about a guy who got his first ever race win here, Lewis Hamilton?
Yeah, you know what? Look, I never count Lewis out at the Canadian Grand Prix. He loves this track. It's, one of his favorites. Like you said, Adam captured his first Grand Prix victory here. And if he's able to get a good balance that will allow him to extract the performance, then yes, I can see him as well, really up there with everyone else. Can he pull out a victory? I'm not too sure. It might be a little bit. I still think he's trying to find those last few tenths, and I think he's still trying to figure out that race setup, quality setup difference. I could be wrong on all that. That's just from the eye test. But I mean, heck, he's Lewis Hamilton. Like anything's possible, right?
Yep. Now listen, Saturday, I mean, Friday is going to be 19 degrees max. Like that's as hot as it gets. So I think you're going to see some weird times in practice. But Saturday, 21 degrees is the high by the afternoon. But remember, it's still Canada and it's still June.
Mm-hmm.
So the morning's going to be 13. And it's a question of how they handle their qualifying and what temperature the things are at. Now, 24 degrees in the afternoon on Sunday. So that, a 3-degree difference, or it could be as much as a 5-degree difference, depending upon when, what the temperature is at qualifying. But I do think, a 5 or a 6-degree temperature difference is actually a huge deal in terms of Formula One. So that could make it a very interesting race after the qualifying as well. And the way the track's set up, Tim, as we saw in the drive-through, it really is set up for racing. It's a racetrack. You should expect passing. You should expect dramatic moments. You should expect contact. That's what makes Montreal, along with races like it, Spa and Silverstone and all these real race courses, that's what makes them so fun.
Yeah, the curb striking that the drivers have to do, the aggressive nature that the drivers have to do with corner entry, and the precision that they have to hit some of these curbs at and maintain the perfect racing line without going over by a few feet is super critical. Now, that's what I love the most about this track and this race is that aggression, but also that like targeting through, a periscope while you're going 300 kilometers an hour on a bumpy track. Like I love that. It's awesome.
Okay. All right, Tim. All right. Now listen, there has been not a ton of major stories coming out, but Valtteri Bottas was quoted. And we talked about this last year when his contract was up. And I think this is really interesting. Obviously
we talked about him going to Red Bull, Adam. That was a story that we talked about on here before it came out anywhere.
100%. And so now he's talked about the fact that Red Bull basically shut it down, and it was one guy at the team that shut it down. We know who that is. Helmut Marko has said that for years that it's nice that Valtteri can qualify well, but he's not a good racer. Looking at how this season has gone for Red Bull, would it not have made sense if you could kind of get rid of that bias? And by the way, they keep claiming that Helmut Marko doesn't work for the Red Bull Formula One team, and yet here we are. Would it not have made sense to bring in a vet to do that second drive? Right? Like, we maybe would have missed out on an amazing season from Isaac Hadjar, but from the Red Bull perspective, putting Liam Lawson there over Valtteri Bottas seems like literally like that. It's like fiduciary responsibility level of bad. Like you have cost your team tens of millions of dollars with that decision alone, because at least, with Valtteri, he's got a lot of opportunity to get the most out of the car outside of Max and get you some more points, which are worth millions and millions of dollars. What do you think about that?
100%, Adam. Like,
okay, all right, cool. I'm setting this up. Sometimes Tim goes, "What the hell are you talking about?"
No. Like, think about. Well, look at the standings, right? Like, they're fourth in the constructors' standings. Max Verstappen has won Grand Prix this year. It's not the greatest car. It's not a great car, but you need the experience to help you bring the car along. Max can't, do it all. Like, he can't win the races. Engineer the car and tell you exactly what you need to change in the car. You need two voices that are helping you do that. That's why Yuki Tsunoda was brought up. Like this is one of the reasons to get that second opinion, the second voice. And this car is just really extremely difficult to drive. And I think that Valtteri Bottas may have dodged a bullet by not coming onto this team. And let me tell you why, Adam, because if he signs with Red Bull Racing for this season, and this car is the way it is, who's to say he's going to be able to do any better than like what Tsunoda and Lawson have done? And that's not saying that Valtteri is a bad driver. Valtteri is a really great driver. I think he's super talented. He's a great qualifier. And when he is in a lead of a race, he never lets it go. Like, he is a good race car driver as well. He is an all-arounder. And I don't agree with the fact that, oh yeah, he's just great at qualifying and that's it. No, like, he's won Grand Prix before. Like, don't give me that. So, Adam, for next year, Cadillac is going to need a driver. If you're at Red Bull struggling, they're not going to look at you.
Yeah.
They're going to look at you if you're the reserve driver, the test driver for Mercedes. You get their information. Valtteri's going to be learning a lot from that team. Valtteri's going to be learning a lot about what they're working on for 2026 and what that car is going to look like and how it's going to feel, because he's going to be in the simulator developing the thing. So I think Valtteri dodged a huge bullet here, and I think he's set himself up well to take that seat at Cadillac. Now, nothing is signed. Cadillac has
a Perez-Bottas lineup, though, would be a good lineup.
I have a feeling that's probably the direction we could be going in, something along that. He gives himself a chance, though, to get back into Formula One, where, on the other hand, could be bounced out of Formula One quite quickly if he's in that seat. So
yeah. So interestingly, I just keep wondering, Tim, who pays the price for a decision like that? Like, that is like when you see where Yuki is, right? And again, nobody blames Yuki except for people internally at Red Bull who seem to be just really hard on the guy. And I guess where it gets me, Tim, is you telling me you showed up in Australia and you didn't know Liam Lawson was slow. You're telling me you went through 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of testing with Liam Lawson in that car and you didn't know he was slow? I think you knew he was slow. I think they knew he was slow.
4 days, 4 days of testing, like Adam.
Well, yeah, but sim work and all the other
sim work and everything else that goes into it. Totally.
And like, he did practice runs with Red Bull over the winter. That's what I'm talking about, right? Like, I'm not talking about what they did in Bahrain. I'm talking about what they do on their home track when they're testing. They race the car in the winter, right? And you're telling me
sim work.
Yeah, you tell me you didn't know? You didn't know. And if you didn't know that Liam Lawson was slow, then who takes the rap for that? Because you showed up to Australia. He kept saying, I don't know why I'm slow. I don't know why I'm slow. So where's the problem here? Is the problem with the fact that you didn't know he was slow when you went to Australia? So that's a sim problem, right? Is the problem in testing in Bahrain? You didn't know he was slow. Oh, he might be slow getting used to the car, whatever. You went through an entire winter and you could have known. So something went wrong there, right? And then when you found out he was slow and you needed to switch him, your backup plan wasn't all that great. No offense to Yuki. It's not Yuki's fault. Your backup plan is throw a guy in the car that's never really raced in the car, and you had the whole winter to test this out and you've given up on this other guy. Somebody at Red Bull has got to take a hit for this. Somebody's got to be held responsible for this. And it isn't the guys who are, running the numbers. It is at some point it's management. And I feel like Christian Horner, for the warts that, anybody's got warts, for the warts that he had, PR last year, whatever. I mean, that is a whole different issue. But when you look at how this team has been run recently, right? World championship team, but always dramatic, always some level of high dysfunction that makes it into the papers, right? We know about it. The pressure on Nick DeVries, the pressure on Sergio Perez, the half-pregnant Daniel Ricciardo move. At some point, somebody's got to step in here and go, whoever's making these calls isn't working. And I don't know that that's Christian Horner alone. I feel like Helmut Marko's a part of that. And I'm just kind of trying. Helmut does a great job with the young drivers program, but at a certain point, because look at Isaac Hadjar. What a great talent. Spectacular. Maybe that's just what you do. Maybe you just do that, and you let somebody else do this. That's my point.
Yeah, I think, Adam, this one is difficult to, really, point your finger at, only because of the regulation.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think also with the regulation and how the car is developed, and it is tailored closer to what, Max does and what Max likes as a driver. And that is a style that, there isn't really anyone who can get close to that uniqueness. It's just not possible. We've seen it. We've seen already 3 drivers, burn through this system, and not one of them can keep up. And we've seen others as well in the past. Like, don't forget about Alex Albon and Pierre Gasly. However, it's tough with this regulation when this is something I'm not sure if all, fans understand, but how tricky the cars are to get in the right balance window and have it stay there. Like, you can get the car into a window where the driver's confident, but the next lap, it can quickly come right out of that balance. And as a driver, there's no consistency there. So you don't have the trust to give to the car, right? Like, you need to understand exactly what the car is going to do. And that's how you get comfortable, within reason, but that's how you really gain your confidence and trust for the machine. And if you don't have that, you're not one with the car, and it's really difficult to get it. There are some drivers who can kind of get close to it, and there's some drivers who can manage the car dropping in and out of balance. But that's like a handful of drivers in the world who could do that. Like, it's these cars are extremely challenging to drive right now. This regulation has been extremely challenging as well for drivers. A lot of drivers. Look at Lewis Hamilton. I was on the Race podcast a couple days ago. We had this conversation. You look at Lewis Hamilton, you put Lewis Hamilton back in the 2020 car, and you see where he is then. Because I bet you $100 he's going to be at the front. He's going to be just as fast. He's going to be winning races. Probably going to win a championship as well. And you give everyone the same car. You give them all the Mercedes, the 2020 Mercedes, right?
Yep.
I guarantee you Lewis is going to be top of the pile right now, if that's what they're driving. You come into this regulation, it's way different. You got to drive the car differently. It works differently. It's stiffer, it's heavier, and those are all different feelings. And for the drivers, some of them, that has just been a huge challenge to try and get it to where they need it. Now you look at the Red Bull. Unique characteristics with that car. Not a lot of drivers are really comfortable with that. You have a car now that's really snappy, easy to lose it. Also, again, not really confident and comfortable with that. And you're in that Red Bull seat, you're going up against Max Verstappen. You're going up against the best in the world. And so who then has to take the blame for all that, right? You make some good points. It is a conversation that probably needs to happen at Red Bull. There does need to be a conversation there, but what happened? How did it happen?
How?
And how do you make sure it doesn't happen into the future? Because Helmut Marko has got some really unique, strong young talent that's coming up right now.
He's unbelievable. Like what is it, Lindblad? Or
that guy is.
That looks like he's gonna be
legit.
incredible, this guy.
He's legit, right? He's got that sign off on his super license already, so he's good to go. What is he? 17. Very remarkable. And now you've also got Isaac Hajar, and Liam Lawson is starting to look better too. Like, he's starting to look like his confidence is starting to come back to him as well. So there definitely is a conversation that needs to happen there. And how do they make sure that it doesn't happen into the future? Because yes, they really have a strong talent pipeline that's really has some young talent coming through it at the moment, Adam.
Yeah, I think there are ways that you can retain everybody and just reorganize their responsibilities. But if my last name was Mateschitz, I would be losing my mind. This cannot happen at a top team like Red Bull. It just can't, especially after how many world championships in a row that they've won. You can't have that. Now, for Sergio Perez, not being in a Red Bull this year has definitely been a saving grace. It's been great for him too. One of the things that has been hinted at, Tim, is that there could be another team in the mix for his services, not just Cadillac. Have you heard anything about Alpine?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely have. I want to go back to Miami. I believe his agent was, I could have sworn I saw him on the ground. And I'd heard that there could be a meeting that took place between Alpine and the agent. Now, I never saw this, so can't confirm whether it's true or not. And it's just rumor at this point. That would make sense, though. That would be a team that, yes, could need some funding for next season. Mm-hmm. That could be a team that he might be able to provide some guidance to, because he does have a lot of experience. He has a lot of experience working with different teams, and he has a lot of experience with these F1 cars. So that could be something as well that would, I would think, may work well for them. And I think what people are starting to realize is that, hey, maybe Sergio Perez isn't that bad, and that the situation that he was in was quite challenging. And I think that people are
Liam
starting
Lawson
to see
and Yuki Tsunoda's results, I think, are showing that, are they not?
Yes, but Adam, like, we were on this show last year. It's like, hey, like, there were times where, we'd look, the eye test, looked at him and be like, that was a bad weekend. But there were other times where it was like, that car looks like it's a handful to drive. Yeah. And it's like, I don't think I would want to be doing it. And so I still think Sergio's got something to give. I think it would be a smart move by a team like an Alpine or Cadillac to bring him on board. Will we see him next year on the grid? I mean, at this moment, Adam, I think it's like 50-50.
Okay. All right. Now, Tim, for the rest of your day tomorrow and this weekend, what's the schedule like? Because it's going to be a busy one for you.
Oh, buddy, it's going to be great. We've got a lot of one-on-ones lined up at TSN that people can watch on SportsCenter or on their YouTube channel. We have, who do we have? We've got George Russell, 1-to-1. I've got a sit-down interview with Charles Leclerc. Looking forward to that one. It's going to be fun. Lando Norris as well, and Carlos Sainz. Those four are on Thursday, and we're going to be rolling those interviews and features out throughout the weekend. So yeah, really looking forward to that. We got a great group here from TSN who I'm working with. Like you guys at SDPN, man, super passionate about F1, and for me, that makes everything so much more fun to see everyone share in the event and everything. I really enjoy sharing, racing and Formula One with everybody. So yeah, it's good. It's gonna be a good time. Right? Man. It's good. Yeah. It's going to be fun, man.
Tim, I'm going to be looking out for you all weekend long. Really looking forward to it, man. And enjoy yourself. I know we weren't, we'll shoot some texts back and forth, but it's difficult to get a hold of Tim on this weekend, and rightfully so. Have a great time. Enjoy the interviews. We'll be watching SportsCenter for them, and I can't wait to talk to you Sunday night or Monday whenever we get to chat. I think we're talking Sunday night, and we'll catch up and get into it, okay?
Thanks, Adam. Have a good weekend.